In this video, I want to show you how to create a live Linux distribution based on the Devuan Excalibur. Devuan 6 is pretty much Debian, but without systemd. The number of resources that actually this distribution brings, it's impressive compared to the regular distribution running systemd. This believes in freedom and take all the steps. Previously, I was using the DenOS project to create a live Linux distribution in Debian. However, part of the same repo, I took the opportunity to go ahead and create a similar distribution for Devuan OS. In this case, we're going to follow those steps to create for the Excalibur version 6, Devuan 6, a live distribution. It's going to be very minimalistic. We have options to create multiple graphic managers such as IE17, i3, LXDE, Mate, OpenBox, XFCE, or whatnot. You can actually put your own packages, you can create your own users and set up your own password. This is going to be hosted on built in an X Ubuntu machine. It's a virtual machine, it's virtualized using the software VirtualBox, and the video is being recorded using ShareX. With all these things out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So Dev1 is going to be the scripts that we have on the repo are the same. The code is very agnostic, very generic, and actually goes for the latest version. So if we go to the get started, we'll be able to see that we can see the code in raw text, which is basically a helper, a builder helper. The only thing I want to do is copy that file. I want to create in this one, which is the UX Ubuntu machine. You can see it's using very few resources on memory. I want to create a directory, my Devuan 6. This will be my working directory. It's empty, of course. I want to get a file that I got from GitHub. Let's go ahead and get it to work, give some permissions, and let the games begin. So basically, this is a helper. You're just gonna wget the files from GitHub. You can check the files. You can check the source. It's an old shell script. It's all transparency and no mystery. It's been using the debootstrap package. So we're gonna be ending to see with something like this. The first thing is gonna be some dependencies to get whatever is going to be needed in the host to compile and actually run the bootstrap for Debian. As you can see, I've run this before, so a lot of those things are not installing, but in your case, it's going to be able to see that you might need to install some of the dependencies if that's the case for your distribution. Any distribution should be fine. The dependencies should be similar, but anyway, just the one that works for you. In this case, X Ubuntu was the preferred one. Now it's asked me to go ahead and run the second script, which if we can see, it goes from 0 to 5, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, which is going to be on the chroot environment, 0, 4, and 0, 5. In this case, I want to just run the 0, 2 to get the bootstrap. If you ever install Linux from scratch for the curiosity to learn Linux and go to the packages, this is going to be very close to see the packages in a short version installing, like installing first a temporary init file system. You'll be able to see as soon as this first version of the bootstrap is building the minimal chroot environment, which is going to be later used to chroot into that environment to install the final packages. This is the final packages. They're going to be copied temporarily on the minimal chroot environment, the 03, and depending on what you want to install, LXDE, Mate, OpenBox, or any of the X. I'm going to do the basic one for now. For this video, the scope is not actually showed, but all the GUI works fine. You'll be able just to run the other one. Is going to run as well. It's going to take a little longer. You download more packages, and you can actually feel free to edit and modify, put LibreOffice, OpenOffice, or whatnot, whatever package for software you need. This is the part I was mentioned: apt-based files, the boot, BSD utils, core utils, dash, devconf. Everything looks GCC, grep, gzip, hostname, init, libapt. All these look like a Linux from scratch. Eventually, when you do everything manually, of course, that's a journey. That's a learning exercise. Encourage to everybody who's interested to learn more about the kernel. This is some of the packages used to build the initial mini chroot environment. So it's actually what it's doing right now, getting on that first step. Later, when this finishes actually doing his staging, look at this. mwag nano encurses password perl set ccnit. So once it gets finished, we're going to be dumping to the chroot environment to actually go ahead and execute the second file, the 003 files, which eventually we're going to do the basic one. I'll show how you can actually modify some of those to suit or fit your needs. Or that'll be the stage where actually you can actually install more things to actually make it yours. By default, the process is pretty automated, pretty straightforward, so you should have no trouble just to kind of go in and follow the same steps. As you can see, nothing's been done in terms of the magic of the video. Nothing's been cut. Everything what you see is what you get. The mileage and the speed may vary depending on your internet connection or your speed. Here we go. We're dumping to the chroot environment. As you can see, the file chroot, this is where actually you can modify and get more files installed. If you want to do something basic like servers, you can actually put the password root, or even in this case you have a live user, you can just uncomment some of these and create your own live user, live password, or a user that it please you. At this time, I'm not gonna go ahead and execute neither any of the graphic interface like LXD, Mate, OpenBox, nothing. I'm just gonna go for the vanilla classic basic CLI because that's what is the purpose of this scope of this video. Other video can actually just execute in this pace. The other graphic interface is just going to take a little longer to download more packages. And as you can see, the second phase in the staging, now we're installing based on the definition of the files that we wanted to install. We're installing and building our own distro, our own way. And this is actually a pretty cool process because it summarizes a lot of those things. At the end, remember, everything's going to be built, everything's going to be compressed, and everything's going to be built in a live CD similar to Knoppix, Slacks, or some of those live CDs distribution. But this is actually going to be built your way with your packages. You can actually customize absolutely everything. So in this part, it's actually getting with the Linux image, getting actually the kernel, the packages, dependencies, everything's going to be in place. So it's pretty cool to see. Again, depending on the cores that you have in your virtualizations in your machine, your internet access is what this process is going to take. This is not going to take too long for us. We're just about, I don't know, wrapping up, passing for 50-60% of the install. This is actually the most important part, installing. The last part, scripts 4 and 5, is going to be compressing and building the bootable ISO image, and that's about it. But as you can see, no much changes, no many tweaking, or no much hacking around. It's just basically declarative text files with packages using the package manager, apt. So anything pretty straightforward. And at the end, we'll show how lean, how small becomes this Devuan. You see the package is downloaded from Devuan merge. The stable, the versions actually is coming out and feeding the packages, getting the packages ready, and the repo distro. This part is what is going to ask us about the locales, or a keyword is going to be, I'm going to use the US English, the keyword, the one I have right now, and it's going to continue a little, not before long. This is going to ask me for my root password because it's actually there. It's not been set up. It could be set up declarative. Of course, you just need to edit the script number 3 and just do it. Or if you wanted to add some more users as well, you can do that as well, or add more packages, right? It's at the end of the day is your live CD. You can do that whatever you want. And but again, live CD is not going to be like a real distro. You're not going to be able to save or change things. Everything stays more static, almost like immutable Linux distros. Yes, you can install packages. They will live on RAM, though they will go away at the time of reboot because the ISO image is not going to be modified, right? So that's one of the things just keep in mind. It's more like a Swiss Army knife. What is the use cases? Some cameras, camera systems. That could be some things like kiosk, some things that actually you don't want it to be modify, compromise in any way, shape, or form. So some things are actually more immutable, but actually they just work. It can actually be collectors, or syslog, or some kind of helpers on servers on some sort, like testing some iPerfs or things like that. Traceroute, they doing probes or things like that, something like that. But I'm mostly running on RAM for sure. But yeah, it can definitely be a Swiss Army knife, just booting from the a very small USB drive and just making a machine working, and it just work temporarily, but you have the assurance that nothing's going to be compromised. Here's the root password. Here we go. And at that time, we're just going to exit from the chroot environment, and we're ready to go ahead and continue for the make squash file system, which is going to take all this image, all this live image that we built. It's going to go there and make a squash file system in one, compress it in one happy zip. And last but not least, script number 5 is going to help us to convert that one, all the squash file system, into a bootable ISO. This part is going. I notice sometimes it gets about 25-30%, and it hangs around a little bit longer, especially when you have X or larger distribution, and so they seem to jump about 70%, 75%. It's just happened to me noticing that. I noticed that as well in some of the, when used to be on-prem SharePoint updates, it used to be something like that. It's kind of weird. I don't know, not related, but something that is, if you have the X environment or the graphic environment, this part is going to take more because it's crunching more files. The size of your ISO file is not going to be more than 1 gig. In this case, it's going to be about 450 megs or something like that. No X. When X is going to be 750 megs, it's still going to be pretty lean. If you compare to the real distro, that is going to be about what is going to be the 9 gig install or something. This would be a very lean solution to actually get something going as a live CD. Here we go. It's asking us for actually run this last script number 5. Find the hole, no issues here. Building the image, there it is. It's already built, and it's 443 or Linux distribution. Let's go ahead and copy this file from the host to our machine, and there it goes. It's pretty fast copying locally. It's not going to be 450 megs, and I can go to VirtualBox, and let's see the Devuan. Actually it will be DenOS 6 because we're building the version 6, and the storage. Let me remove the 5 and let me add the 6. It's called. Actually, I should update the version on the text. That's a text file to actually declare those variables. I can go ahead and change it on next build. Probably need to update it for just for clarity. Make sure it's not actually Devuan 5. It's Devuan 6, but it's a version of Devuan OS version 1. Anyway, just text files. Here it comes. It's not going to take nothing to boot. It's going to be very fast. And as you can see, there's the boot. No systemd. It started right away. It's Devuan, GNU Linux 6 Excalibur, and there's the Devuan. Is using nothing but 186 megs of RAM. How about that? That's incredibly small. 440 megs of the space. It's taking a 193 megs of RAM. It's using nothing. Of course, don't have systemd, right? This is actually all the processes that is running right now. Network manager, dbus, login, getty, login, SSH, and you can install everything. Of course, you have connectivity to the internet, and you have apt install updated. So the repo, okay, we need to update the repos on package master. That's fine, but as you can see, the install it complement completely. Anyway, I'm really happy. This is actually something that is running. So hopefully you like the video. Send some comments, thumbs up, and stay tuned. Hopefully enjoy Linux. Whatever is the flavor, the best Linux is the one that works for you. Thank you and have a great day.